Snow fell in slow motion around him, like tiny frozen witnesses judging his life choices. Zarel Quinn, a crash-landed astromechanic from the Andromeda Federation, sat in the middle of a forsaken alien forest freezing, confused, and regretting every decision that had led him to willingly explore a planet whose tourism brochure probably said, "Visit Planet Fura, where hypothermia is free, and your spaceship will definitely catch fire." His ship had crash-landed 3 hours earlier, courtesy of a meteor shower that looked suspiciously like someone had thrown flaming potatoes at him. Now, all he had was a flickering campfire and a jacket that was more fashion than protection. Then she appeared, not walked, not crawled, not teleported, no. She slid into his peripheral vision like a mystery wrapped in sass, wrapped in red fur, wrapped in dangerously inappropriate clothing for a -10 degrees Celsius snowstorm, a biggered, glowing-eyed feminine creature wearing very little. Zarel choked on his breath, blinked, and blinked again. She squatted by his fire, tail twitching like a fluffy lie detector, eyes glowing like soft auroras. Her voice was soft, high, curious, and strangely sassy. "You look cold, human," he scoffed, pretending he wasn't shivering so hard that his teeth had started playing Morse code. "Nah, I'm just..." Aggressively vibrating, she tilted her head, ears flicking. "Do humans always lie this badly?" Zarel stared at her, unsure whether he was talking to a hallucination, a native species, or a very committed cosplayer. Then she wrinkled her nose, studying his jacket. "That looks warm. It's literally made for warmth." "Then why are you shivering?" He sighed. "Because it looks warm. It's not actually warm." She nodded seriously, as though that made perfect sense. "I'm Naira," she said, poking the fire with a tiny frozen twig. "Spirit born of Fura, daughter of Frost, holder of the what?" She sighed. "I don't know. We stopped naming things after we invented hot cocoa." Zarel tried processing that, then gave up. Instead, he studied her. She wasn't human, but she was humanoid with soft, pale skin, sparkling freckles, long platinum hair, and fox-like ears flickering with emotion. A thick, fluffy tail lay curled behind her like a sentient blanket. She wore a jewel around her neck, a glowing red crystal that gave off faint warmth, and a tiny outfit that was probably considered illegal on 3 different planets. Naira noticed him staring, like what you see. Zarel opened his mouth, then promptly closed it, remembering aliens sometimes eat humans who flirt badly. She giggled, a soft, melodic giggle that warmed the air more than the fire. "Relax, human. I'm not going to freeze you." Yet, she shrugged adorably. "Depends if you annoy me." He stared. She grinned. "But, first rule of surviving alien planets. Don't flirt with the creature that might freeze your organs. Second rule, if she keeps winking, the rules don't apply." He coughed and offered her a seat by the fire. She didn't sit normally. No, she flopped down, tail first, straight into the snow, with a fluffy pump sound that should have been scientifically impossible. Zarel blinked. "Isn't that cold? My tail has 72 microheaters embedded at the molecular level." "Huh, it's Floofitech, advanced technology made by people who care more about comfort than space travel." She paused. "People like me." She gave a tiny smug smile. Zarel almost said "marry me," but stopped himself at the last moment. Instead, he tried to act cool. "Naira, what brings you to this frozen slice of misery?" She inspected him like he was a snow-flavored snack she wasn't sure she wanted to eat. "You did? I sensed something crashed into our woods. Thought it was a bear? Or a meteor? Or a bear riding a meteor? Sorry to disappoint. I mean, you're not a bear, but you are hairy." He stopped, looked down at himself, then glared. "This is rugged beard energy. Okay, it's a vibe. I like it. Really, my species likes fluffy things." Zarel blinked. He looked at his beard. He looked at himself. He looked at her. Nyra was staring at him with the same expression someone gets when they find a cat and immediately decide they own it now. He cleared his throat. "So, I didn't exactly plan to crash here. My equipment is damaged. My ship is fried. I have no food, no navigation, and no heating, except this fire and my sarcasm." Naira leaned forward, interested. "You require warmth?" "Yes." "Food?" "Yes." "Shelter?" "Yes." "Girlfriend?" "Yes." "Wait, what?" She smirked. "Just checking. You humans get lonely fast." He opened his mouth to respond, then closed it again, because there was no correct answer to that question. Naira stood. Snowflakes melted before touching her skin. Her necklace glowed brighter. "I know where warmth is," she whispered. Stepping closer, Zarel's heart thudded in his chest. "And food?" she added. He swallowed. "And shelter?" she teased. He nodded too fast. "And something humans really like." He stopped. "Wi-Fi?" she blinked. "No, but we have soup." He nodded seriously. "That works." She smiled and stood, flicking her tail. "We leave at sunrise." He looked around. It was already night. Snowstorm raging. Sunrise. In this weather? She raised an eyebrow. "Trust me." He looked at her little outfit, her glowing jewel, her fluffy tail. The snow didn't seem to touch her. Her warmth radiated like magic. He realized something. She wasn't surviving the cold. She commanded it. As she stared into the firelight, golden embers reflecting in her eyes, he whispered, "What are you?" She smiled slowly. Oh, human, she murmured, you have no idea. Her tail wrapped casually around his wrist. Warmth surged through him like fire. He shivered. This time not from the cold. She leaned in, her voice soft, teasing, full of cryptic promise. And when I tell you not to stop, her eyes shimmered. Never stop. The fire crackled. Snow drifted silently. And Zarel Quint, the man who fixed starships, decoded quantum engines, and could navigate asteroid fields blindfolded, realized he was utterly, unquestionably, in trouble. Snow whispered against the trees as night grew deeper. The fire crackled gently, and Naira, the mysterious snowborn fox girl, sat across from Zarel, watching him with an amused glint in her glowing eyes. Zarel was trying to act normal, which was impossible when being intensely observed by a magical snowfox woman wearing less fabric than a napkin. She kept poking the fire with a stick. Each time she did, sparks danced in patterns like snowflakes merging with flames. It was hypnotic and mildly concerning. So, he said finally, unable to bear the silence, "You're not freezing, you're not even chilly. You're actually glowing." She shrugged. Warm blood, hot spirit, frost lineage. That sounds like a dating profile. It is, she deadpanned. Swipe right, at your own risk. He chuckled, then stopped when she didn't. You're kidding, right? She smirked. Am I? Silence. The fire popped. Her tail swished. He swallowed. She inched forward and poked his jacket with the stick. This is useless. You need proper Fiora, warmth. Is that like a thermal blanket? Better. Before he could process that, she flicked her tail, and suddenly, the air warmed. Just a little. Not enough to melt snow, but enough to make his fingers stop feeling like popsicles. He looked confused. She grinned. My tail is heated. Excuse me. My tail. It produces thermal aura. Want to see? Want to see your... No. I mean, yes. I mean, she laughed. That delightful, soft, melodic laugh that made him feel like his embarrassment was low quality. Compared to her premium sarcasm, she scooted closer, her tail brushing his hand. Instant warmth, like dipping his fingers into hot cocoa. With marshmallows that hugged back, she raised a brow. Warm, he blinked. Woman, this is better than heated seats. Woman, she teased. What's next? Fox lady, fluffy snow warrior, ice queen of fire. Humans love naming things they don't understand. He paused. Can I call you Naira? Her expression softened. That one works. Quiet settled between them. The fire glowed brighter, as if listening. He studied her, this strange, magical being who looked like a winter goddess but made jokes about thermal tales. Naira studied him, too, this slightly lost, slightly sarcastic human who had crashed into her world like an accidental meteor. She tilted her head. You look better when you're confused. Is that a compliment? Maybe, he smirked. You're very confusing. That sounds like flirting. It is. She looked away, pretending to be unfazed, but the tip of her tail flicked happily, like a fluffy lie detector. He smirked.bingo.nyra. Suddenly leaned forward, eyes sparkling mischievously. Human, want to play a game? Last time an alien asked me that, I ended up doing synchronized yoga with space parrots. She giggled. This one is safer. Probably, he sighed. What's the game? She smiled. It's called truth, dare, or tail. He blinked. Tail, tail. She flicked it like a weapon. If you pick tail, I do whatever I want with the tail. That sounds both intriguing and terrifying. It is. He grinned. You go first. She thought for a moment, then nodded. Truth, he said. Nyra leaned in, eyes glowing brighter. Humans err. Why did you really leave your home planet? Zarel froze. Not from cold. This was different. He looked into the fire, then back at her. I didn't leave, he said quietly. I ran. Naira didn't tease. She didn't laugh. She just sat there, listening. A job gone wrong. A mission. A failure I don't talk about. He exhaled slowly. I told the Federation I wanted space exploration. Freedom, adventure. But honestly, he smiled weakly. I just didn't want to feel like I didn't belong anymore. Naira watched him. Fluffy ears, lowered. Eyes. Soft tail, paused quietly. She didn't look at him with pity. She looked at him like she understood. I didn't belong either, she whispered. Not fully snow, not fully spirit, not fully human shape. Too magical for my tribe, too emotional for my spiritkin. Her voice grew quieter. So I made my own place, a little in the between. Their eyes met. Silence. Warm. Not. From fire, her tail slowly brushed against his hand. Gently this time. Not teasing. Comforting. He smiled. He didn't feel lost anymore. She smiled back. He noticed she didn't say human this time. Just his name. No one really belongs, she whispered, but some people find each other anyway. He nodded, softly. Yeah, he said, some people do. A wind blew, carrying snowflakes, but the warmth remained. Their warmth. Naira blinked, then suddenly gasped. Wait, it's still your turn. He laughed. Right? Truth or dare? She grinned. Tail. He nearly choked. Tail, she repeated, smiling wickedly. What does that? But before he could finish, the fluffy tail bonked him directly in the forehead. Oh, boop, she said proudly. That's it, that's level 1 tail activation. Level 1. How many levels are there? She smirked. You'll find out. He stared. She looked smug. His dignity was somewhere under the snow. He laughed anyway. Later that night, they lay by the fire, not touching but closer than before. Not hugging, but sharing warmth. Carell. Watched the stars peeking through the snowy sky. Naira watched him watching the stars. He turned. So, sunrise. Huh? She nodded. We'll reach my village by then. Village. Snowhaven sounds magical. It has hot soup. Even better. He smiled. She smiled. The crackling fire flickered against her glowing eyes. And Zeril felt strangely at peace, like he wasn't just surviving. Maybe he was meant to be here. Nyra single quotes S voice floated softly. Yeah, if your world didn't want you, maybe mine will. Silence. Snow. Fire. Heartbeat. Tail. He whispered. I think it already does. Her eyes softened. She didn't speak. She didn't tease. She didn't boop him. With her tail, she just looked at him with something unexpectedly warm. Soft. Tender. Real. And for once, she was the one who looked away first. Night deepened. Fire flickered too. Unlikely souls sat together in a forest of snow, and the temperature was rising. Morning didn't arrive gently. It arrived with a fluffy thwack, right to Zeril's face. He groaned, blinking awake as Naira's tail retreated like a smug assassin. Rise and not freeze human, she said cheerily, tail swishing like it had an ego. Zeril squinted at her, buried in snow, hair a mess, dignity gone with the night wind. I didn't need an alarm clock, he muttered, but thanks for the fluffy assault. She grinned. You're welcome. Snowhaven, she had said, a magical village, warmth, food, soup, possibly Wi-Fi. He had hope. They began walking through the snowy forest. She floated over the snow, barefoot and graceful, while he sank into it like an abandoned pancake. Why do you float and I don't? He grumbled. Because, she said casually, I am magical and elegant, and I am what? Squishy. Squishy, soft, huggable, slightly helpless. He stared at her. She giggled. His heart did something weird. As they walked, Naira pointed at glowing blue flowers sprouting from the snow. Snow bloom, she said. They only bloom when something warm moves through the forest. Like heat signatures, like feelings. He stopped. Feelings, she nodded. Warm hearts wake dormant magic. He chuckled. So, if I get emotional, plants pop up. Yup, he paused. So if I cry, flowers everywhere. If I fall in love, forest goes full Disney musical. He blinked. Do they sing? Only if it's true love, she said seriously. And they sing really badly. He laughed so hard a new patch of snow blooms sprouted. They reached a frozen river. Or at least it looked frozen. It shimmered. Ripples like liquid glass. This isn't water, Zeril said. Naira nodded. Memory stream. You mean metaphorically? No, it's made of memories. He went quiet. Naira sat by the edge, swirling a finger in the liquid light. You touch it, she said softly, and it shows you something you've forgotten, or something you needed to remember. Zeril hesitated. Will it hurt? Only if you hold on too tight. He slowly reached into the memory stream. Light rippled around his fingers. Like warm silk, then he saw himself as a child. Laughing, building something, not a spaceship, not a gadget. Here is drawing stars, dreaming. A voice, his father's said, you don't just fix things, Zeril, you imagine things. Don't lose that. The stream released him gently. He sat back, stunned. Nyra watched him silently. He looked at her. I forgot, he whispered. I used to dream, not just repair. Naira nodded softly. You didn't run away from home, Zeril, she said. You just forgot where home really was. He looked at her. Something warm surged inside him. Snow bloomed around his feet like tiny glowing petals. Naira blinked. Oh wow, she whispered. That was either emotionally magical, or you're extremely allergic to me. He laughed. More flowers bloomed. She watched. Smiling quietly, they crossed the memory stream. The woods gradually changed. More glowing flora. Floating lanterns of ice creatures that looked like rabbits but had wings and an attitude. Furry one glared at Zeril like it owed him money. Naira pointed ahead. Snowhaven stopped. It was breathtaking. Glowing. Cottages made of crystallized snow. Warm light inside, spiraling. Towers of ice that didn't melt. Magic. Flickering like fireflies. And floating platforms carrying steaming pots of hot cocoa, he whispered. Tell me, this is real. Naira smirked. If it wasn't, would we have cocoa carts? Zeril stared at the floating cocoa pot like he just found religion. A small snow child ran up to Naira. Zeril blinked. Tail sits. Naira picked up the child, smiling warmly. This is Yanni. Yanni looked at Zeril suspiciously. Is he a No, he's human. Yanni squinted. He looks like a confused bread loaf. Zeril gasped. You're just like Naira. Naira smirked proudly. She learns from the best. He couldn't even argue. Naira introduced him to her tribe. He was prepared for skepticism, disapproval, maybe a little hostility. He got tea, soup, blankets, and several old snow spirits betting on how long before he and Naira fell in love. One elder whispered, "Look at them. He's already emotionally thawing." Naira dragged him away before Zarel could emotionally combust. She led him to a quiet spot, an ice balcony overlooking the glowing woods. No tribe, no teasing, no distractions, just two unlikely souls. She looked at him. Soft, vulnerable, double quotes, Snowhaven. Likes you, she said. I like Snowhaven, he replied. She paused. Ears flicking, tail curling nervously. She whispered, "Do you like its people?" He smiled. "I like one of them especially." Her eyes widened, tail froze, heart skipped. Then she did something rare. She didn't tease, she didn't joke, she didn't even flick her tail. She looked straight at him and whispered, "You're trouble." Human. He stepped closer. "Good trouble." She nodded. "The best kind." Silence fell. Not cold, not empty, but warm. Magic stirred in the air. Snowflakes drifted slowly, not falling, but rising. As if gravity wanted to witness this moment, Naira's voice, barely above a whisper. "You crash-landed into my world, Zarel Quinn." He smiled softly. "And you crash-landed into something I didn't know I still had." She tilted her head. "What?" He looked at her gently. Hope. She didn't laugh. She didn't tease. She just looked at him for a long time. She quietly moved closer and rested her forehead against his. Not a kiss. Not yet, but something deeper. Something that didn't need rush. Something that hinted when it happens, it will mean something. Her tail slowly wrapped around his wrist. Warm. Comforting, promising, and maybe just a little possessive. The snow around them glowed softly. Naira whispered, voice barely audible. "Yes, when I said don't stop," she swallowed. "I didn't just mean walking." He smiled. Quiet. Soft. "Then I won't." And he didn't. Not with his eyes, not with his warmth, and not with whatever it was that had started to grow. Between them, something that felt strangely like belonging stood together as snowflakes rose to the stars, and the world around them seemed to watch and smile. Snowhaven prepared for the Frostfire Festival the way humans prepared for chaos, with sparkling decorations, food everywhere, suspiciously competitive singing squirrels, and at least one elderly spirit aggressively flirting with the tree. Zarel watched in awe. Naira watched him watching in awe. "You look like your brain is buffering," she said. "It is," he admitted. "I didn't know places like this existed." She smiled softly. "Most people don't." He took a moment to look around. Lights hanging from icicles, snow lanterns floating like little frozen fireflies, magical music somewhere between wind chimes and emotional dragon humming, the smell of soup. He exhaled slowly. "This feels like home." She looked at him. Not teasing, not joking, just quietly happy. "Good," she whispered, because she had secretly hoped he'd say that. A crowd gathered in the center of the village, around a circular fire made of blue flames and golden sparks. "The Frostfire," Naira explained. "It reacts to honesty." He froze, like a magical lie detector. "Worse," she grinned. "It reacts to feelings." He blinked. Jachi continued. "If someone steps into it with feelings, they don't admit what happens." Naira smirked. "It lights up in embarrassing colors." He stared at the flames. They looked harmless, playful, kind of Judge Why. Naira elbowed him. "Feeling brave?" "No." "You're going in?" "I absolutely am not." Too late. Two fox spirits pushed him forward. Naira folded her arms. Smug.Zarell stood in front of the Frostfire. Villagers watched. Eagerly, Naira watched intensely. The Frostfire flickered. He took a deep breath. "I don't belong in my world," he said quietly. "I thought I'd find a new one by traveling everywhere. But then, I landed here." And he glanced at her. "And I stopped wanting to leave." The fire turned pink. Then gold. Then started making heart-shaped sparks. The village oohed like a gossiping audience at a live dating show. Naira choked on nothing. Her tail betrayed her by wagging emotionally. Zarel stepped back, stunned. Nyra stepped forward. Now, her turn. She stood in front of the Frostfire. Villagers now whispering. Betting. One held a sign that said, "Tail level for incoming." Naira took a slow breath. She stared at the fire. Then at Zarel. "I never said it out loud before," she whispered. "I spent so long being something between worlds. Not spirit, not human. Always, almost enough, but never quite." She paused, tail stilled. Eyes soft. "But when I look at you, I don't feel almost anymore." The Frostfire whooshed into glowing spirals. Fireworks. Literally. Somewhere. A magical squirrel fainted. Heart felt like it was trying to start a band. Then Naira did something very unexpected. She walked straight to him. Slowly, like gravity was confused. She stopped in front of him. Closer. Then she lifted his hand, placed it gently against her tail. Warm. Soft. Blushing. "If tails could blush," she whispered. "I don't just want you here, Zarel, I want you with me." His breath caught. "Aren't those the same thing?" "No," she said softly. "One is staying, the other is choosing." Her words hung in the cold air, soft, Fragile. Beautifully dangerous. He swallowed. Heart racing. I choose. He whispered. She blinked. Tail froze. You. I choose you, Naira. Not Snowhaven. Not a new mission. Not a magical alien. Adventure. Her. Nyra didn't laugh. Didn't tease. Didn't prank. She just looked at him as if she had waited for someone who finally understood. She took a step closer. Placed her forehead against his, the Snowhaven sign of trust. He exhaled. Everything felt warm, soft. Right, then dash. She did it tail level. 3. It wrapped gently around his waist. Cozy, possessive, affectionate, magical. Villagers cheered. One yelled, tail bonding. Elder Yavo shouted, get ready for tail level 4. That's when they build a house. Zarel nearly passed out. Nyra. She just smirked, though her ears were blushing. The night sky rippled, glowing flakes rose upward, like snow returning to the stars. Naira whispered, voice soft and full of something beautifully real. Home isn't always where you started, Zarel. Sometimes, it's where someone waits for you. He looked at her. Are you waiting for me? She smiled. No, she whispered. I'm here with you. And just like that, no grand kiss. No dramatic slow motion. Just a quiet, powerful warmth between two unlikely souls. Warm enough to melt snow. Warm enough to call home. As they watched the frostfire fade, Naira looked at him and grinned, wickedly. So, human. Yeah, ready to meet my mother. Mother. She smirked. Tail level 4 requires approval. He dramatically sat down in snow. Take me back to space. She laughed. And the forest bloomed. The end. Or perhaps, the beginning.